I have some visitors today. It's my Aunt Kathy and Uncle Frank.
Hello.
Hello.
And Aunt Kathy grew up here. She grew up in the farmhouse.
Sure did.
And
Long time ago.
what kind of animals did Grandpa have when you were growing up?
Oh, we had cows. We were milking about 28 head, I think, and calves. And I showed cattle in the 4-H fair. We had chickens, pigs. And when I was old enough to ride and talked him into it, we got a horse. Of course, my first horse was a workhorse. And I taught her how to jump ditches. Everybody said I couldn't do it, but I did. And then I had a retired barrel racer after that.
Uncle Frank mentioned apple cider. Did you?
Oh yeah.
Did you partake in any hard cider that Grandpa?
Yeah, but I didn't like
fermented?
it. I liked the sweet cider. But I can remember us kids, the first batch of cider in the fall, we would race to get the first drop out of the hole that it came from the press to see who could get the first glass of cider out of it. And I can remember at Halloween, Dad used to give out an apple and a dime to every kid that came. And if you stop to think, a long time ago, a dime was worth a lot to a kid.
Sure.
Yeah, he always had cider in the cellar. There was probably 10 barrels there in all different ranges, from fresh cider, harder, and some vinegar. And I still have a half-gallon jug of vinegar from Dad's cider, and he stopped making cider back in the 70s, I think.
You sure?
But the families on either side of us had 6 kids apiece. So there was always kids around to play with, and always things going on, and we had a good time.
And Uncle Frank is a retired Syracuse fireman.
Yes.
Right.
Yep, back when we were firemen. Now they're firefighters, but I was a fireman. That's what I'll always be.
All right. How many years did you serve?
35.
Wow.
35 years.
Great. And earlier we were talking about the truck he bought. Of course, it had to be what color?
Red.
Yeah, imagine that.
I had 2 vans and 2 trucks so far that are red. But I started off going to a Merchant Marine High School for 4 years down in New York, which finally disbanded in 1985. I did go into Merchant Marine, and we used to travel strictly along the state from Maine down into Texas. Got to see a lot of things, but after getting married, it wasn't the greatest job. So moved up to Syracuse from New York City and wound up working in a factory. Couldn't stand it. Went back down, worked on tugboats for a while. In the meantime, I had taken the test for the fire department, and the rest is history. Yep.
Wow. And understand that you have a hobby of whittling.
Yep, I like to whittle, and I do a lot of whittling. I never get real good at it, but I enjoy it immensely. And Thursday, I taught a class on carving a trick bear. You carve this bear, and then you push him, and he rolls over and comes back on his feet.
So on your next visit, will you bring one of your trick bears for us to show?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Awesome. So as Uncle Frank and I were talking, I mentioned the Red Comet fire suppression ball that's over in the Cider Mill. If you haven't watched that episode, go to the Cider Mill episode. And he knows all about the Red Comet.
Yes, they were designed, you'd put them in basements and small rooms, and when the heat got so much, they would break, and it was a liquid, and it was actually pyrene, which gave us 5-gene gas when it let go. And that's, in an enclosed place, 5-gene gas was the same type of gas used in the Second World War, maybe the First World War. So it was very poisonous.
And Kathy, when you grew up in the farmhouse, what kind of heat was there?
We had a coal furnace in the basement, in the cellar, and we had one square heating vent. It was a big register, probably about 3 foot square, in the living room. That was the only register. There was no heat in the upstairs, in the bedrooms and that, other than what went up the stairs, because it was all open. And in the kitchen, we had a wood stove that we used every day, even in the summertime. And we would cook on the stove too.
Was it also, did that stove also have an oven?
Yes. Yes.
Because I can remember that stove when I was young.
Yep. Yep. And we used the oven too.
So Mom said that each of the children had their own bedroom upstairs, and Grandma and Grandpa would sleep in the main area. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep. There was like you walk up the stairs and you take a right, and there's a big room. Not real big, but it fit a double bed and maybe a dresser. And then off of that were 3 smaller rooms, and they were the bedrooms.
So you'd have to go through Grandma and Grandpa's bedroom to get to your room.
Yes.